Hi, it's Dave from Driving Adventure. Welcome back to Costco Drives episode, whatever episode we are now at. There's been a bit of an interlude, and I just had to kind of think to myself, what videos have you now seen which have come out before this now episode? But I understand we'll have seen the Macan GTS, the immense 992 Turbo S cab, also a walk around video on an extremely special car, the 991 Speedster heritage pack. It's just so boorish. You know, if they could make sweets in that colour and shape, just be gobbling them. So you just want to eat that car and enjoy that car. And hopefully, I say before too long, we will be able to have access to that car and do a review video on it, and you'll be able to hear that flat six engine howl as we go through the rev band. But anyway, so in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the cars I've just recently driven, just some thoughts on those cars. Then I'm going to get into a little bit of a advice chat around now the sun is coming back a little bit. I'm starting to sense movements in the demand stakes for cars. So cars, if you're interested in thinking about getting a car, I think you need to start getting on with it, because I think the market's firming up and cars are being sucked off the market, certainly the very special ones. So, and we'll get into that. Also, if I can remember, we'll talk a little bit about some viewer comments and my take on the 992 GT3, because, you know, I did get one guy contacting me and saying, well, yeah, you know, the 992 GT3 is the best. Well, we'll talk about that and I'll clarify that, because I just, you know, I popped back to him with some sort of rebuttals to some of the things I was saying in my last video. You know, it's glorious to be driving in weather like this. You know, clear blue skies, just patches of cloud. I can't wait for that Spyder to arrive, for the roof to come off and just to go through that gearbox on some great roads. And yeah, I'll be taking you along for the ride and the journey on that. So yeah, and there is some Spyder news, so okay. If I can fit it all in between there and on the way back, so there probably will be a part two. And also, I'm going to talk you through a little bit around this watch and the Rolex 11610 LN, the ceramic Submariner. So let's just take it in order that they went out. So the Macan GTS, it's not a comparison really, it's not a competitor really against a G-Wagon. Obviously that's the only other SUV I've reviewed, and the Macan is a proper driver's car. It handles so well, it doesn't lean and yawn in the bends, it's got ample performance, lots of capacity. So as a family car, like I said in the video, you know, comes a bumpy bit, it's a car which might help you get some brownie points with the dealer. Don't buy your family car elsewhere, buy it at the Porsche Centre and buy your sports car through your Porsche Centre. Keep it in the family, Porsche family, and it's not going to do you any harm when it comes to, you know, wanting an allocation on a more special car perhaps. So I said that in the video and I really believe that. The next thing about the GTS, I think, was just the way it sounded. I mean, it did sound good. It had some pops when you put the sports exhaust on. So, you know, a very accomplished car. So hopefully you enjoyed that video. Then we had the Turbo S. The Turbo S. Now, that car, I'm driving on the way to Costco. This is the day after I drove the Turbo S. Now, I think the leap from 991 to 992 with the turbo has been quite big. It's been quite incredible. If you're looking about, you know, 991.2 GT3, they put 10 horsepower in. When they did the turbo 992, it's leap by comparison. You know, I think it's 50 or maybe 50 or more horsepower into the frame. So, and you can't believe the surge. And what's great about the car is that when you're in overtake mode and you're going to go for an overtake, you're at low revs. And that's the thing about the engine. From low revs, the 850 Newton meters of torque says hello, and you're just gone. So no fuss, plenty of emotion, and you're through. And the pickup, good grief, I mean, it really did open my eyes to what I think Porsche are now doing, and they're realising the difference between a cruisy, torquey turbo type affair and the GT cars. The handling there was a bit of a gulf. So what they've done now is they've said, no, hang on, we're going to make the turbos now handle like GT cars. Okay, they don't sound the same way, but I think from a handling perspective, I was extremely impressed with the turn-in and the dynamics of that car. It just really did blow me away, really. And the Speedster, well, I said it before, I was a little bit unsure on the Heritage when I first saw it. I thought the rear end maybe was a little bit big and proportions, but I was thinking, you know, Spyder, and then this car kind of came along. So it looks a bit big, but you know, the more time you spend around that car and you see it on the road and you hear it, and you know, you see it more, you realise Porsche knew what they were doing. And it's a car which has been growing on me and really growing on me. So just a super car to be able to, you know, just see on the road really and be part of one of my videos. I mean, it's stunning. So we're hoping, as I say, before too long, we're just waiting for that flat six, that engine just to get a little bit loose and get the engine round it and just get it moving a bit. And then when it's covered a few more miles, as the owner said, he wants to put proper miles on it, not wasted miles. So yeah, I think fair comment, and yeah, we'll be doing that car before too long. Okay, right, the car market then, really well. I've seen prices firming up. You know, you look on, I'm talking now really around GT3, GT3 RS, those sorts of cars, and that's the ones I tend to follow the most. And what I'm noticing, certainly from people I've spoken to as well in the car game, you know, we've got some experienced friends in that game, and you know, the ask now and the demand, it's picking up. So if you're seeing a car, you've had an eye on a car for a while, then I think it's probably time to pull the trigger, because you know, the trips are going to be coming back. Of course, we've got the announcements from the government about what's going to happen. We'll see if it sticks. But you know, it's unfortunate that they've been held back for so long. But I think the pressure has just been building, and the demand to do stuff is going to be incredible. So I think if you're looking for your car, it's time to think more seriously about it and pull the trigger. But if I can just come back to the Turbo S video, is it worth all that more money than, say, I don't know, a standard S car and so on and so forth? And I think it is. The people buying Turbo S's, they're in a different sort of category of customer than, say, someone is going for the S version. So the price is significantly higher. And the other thing, they're not easy to get. I mean, you're going to be waiting probably 18 months, probably into the midpoint of 2022 before that car's even going to arrive. And so with so few for sale, I mean, the ratio of Turbo S 992s against GT products, say 991.2, there's much fewer for sale. So I think that says a lot, really. I think the residuals on this new turbo product are going to be absolutely bulletproof. I really do. So maybe that's a car you're looking at. I don't see them coming down, because getting them is not going to be easy. And what an ultimate cruiser of a car that is. It really is. Okay. Let's talk a little bit around 992 GT3, some things I've been saying. One chap popped up, fair enough, you know, he's polite enough, I guess. Well, what am I saying, you know, how can a 991.2 GT3 just be as good as a 992 GT3? Well, the thing is, yes, I will accept it is better on some metrics. So yeah, on the Nürburgring, it's faster, so it's better then, yeah? But in the real world, and you're driving your car, it's what the car does for you, it's what the car delivers for you in terms of feel and performance, and also great times, because I've said it so many times, there's no point having a car and you never do anything with it, you know? And, you know, people buy these cars and then they think, oh, it's worth a lot, oh, I won't drive it, oh, I'm not going to do anything with it, oh, I can, you know, it's not what Porsche want, and it's not what Ferdinand Porsche set Porsche up for and designed his car for. He wanted the car to drive and enjoy. So, in the real world, driving your car, if you're in a 997 GTS, if you're in a 996, if you're in a Boxster that's 20 years old, whatever you're in, that car is great for you, and it's the best car for you. And you know, that's the way I look at things really, because there's no snobbery in the circles I mix. Yeah, some people have got some outstanding halo cars, and I've got a brilliant car, but then my pals come on the trips and then they don't have those cars, but they're still enjoying themselves and they're still driving an amazing car. So I think better, yeah. I mean, it's a little, you know, it's a little bit quicker. It's, you know, but is it really a car which is a massive step on? It certainly hasn't stepped on like the turbo has it? I mean, it's just, you know, and in real world conditions of driving the car, okay, better double wishbone suspension at the front end, okay. You can have a carbon fibre roof, better, okay. But in the real world, how much difference does that make to someone that's driving along on the road and enjoying a great trip with his pals, you know, or on track? Unless you're a racing driver and you've got pedigree, you know what you're doing, well trained. I remember being in Anglesey, and I was in my first Crayon GT3, and someone shot past me in the previous generation because he's a more accomplished track driver, and fair play. So it's not really. When I think a better car, the way I look at it is, it's just the car's been made for that time, for that era, and as far as I'm concerned, if you've got any car from any era, it's a great car. And better isn't really the right way to assess it. It's just another car that's taking the game on a little bit, and will find its place in the Porsche catalogue, Porsche history books. So there we go. Hurrying through the agenda here as we reach the lights, the way to Costco. Yeah, sorry Emily's not with me. I did invite her to come on. I tried to tempt her with maybe another treat, but anyway, she decided not to come, so fair enough. She'll make an appearance before too long again, I think. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's talk about the announcement then of the COVID-19 restrictions being lifted. This roadmap, this thing that's the government's confident if it gets behind it, and you know the stats and the data stacks up, you know, we'll be seeing the country coming out of it bit by bit. The very unfortunate news is that my Highlands trip scheduled for April has now been cancelled. I can't do it, so disappointed. But it does mean, I suppose, that I can do another trip later in the year when hopefully this is very much well and truly bloody blown over. We'll be able to do a trip to the Highlands, you know, as a Driving Venture Club event. So that's something which we'll be able to promote via the social media and via, you know, the website, which is going to be going into development very, very shortly now. So paying the money for that. So hopefully some of you guys are watching this video, you'll be becoming members, you'll get involved, because I think the people who are going to be kind of like behind it, that's obviously me, but I've got friends in the car circles. The friends I have, they know how to enjoy the cars, and we know how to enjoy ourselves socially. We know what's what. So I think people who do get involved with it, they'll see on the menu what you're getting for your money. You'll see that, you know, it's sensible, and I think you'll have some great times, and you'll certainly be driving some great roads, because I've got a lot of things in my mind about where I want to go. I remember when I ordered my GT3, before I ordered it, sorry, and I was like saying to the guy at the centre, so look, I know the roads I'm going to drive this car on, you know, I've kind of got it all plotted out in my mind, and that was before the allocation came, and then when it did, I was really, really pleased, but there we are. So some of the things that I want to include in the itinerary of events in 2021 later in the year. I think the first events are going to be featuring around maybe June, something like that. And then I'm looking at a Highlands trip probably in September. So that's when I want to do that, because the schools will have gone back, the roads hopefully a little bit quieter. And that's one thing about Scotland, you don't need to worry about it being busy, because the roads we drive on, you know, we're on some pretty remote roads really, so it's very conducive to enjoying your car. So you know, it's the perfect place, it really is. I'm also really glad that it would seem that my trip to Europe for the Porsche GT supercar driver, so that's a great club, and they've got, you know, very decent people who run it, and the trips are really exciting. So I'm really, really pleased that that trip is going to be going ahead in June now, because obviously that was cancelled last June. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So that is something which I was sort of maybe thinking was going to be cancelled for the second year in a row. And I know some of the things they put on for, again, earlier in this year, unfortunately, are going to be cancelled again. It's just an absolute nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. Well, I've been driving this car very, very gingerly and gently to Costco because it's hardly got any juice in the tank. And let's see how many miles I've managed to do on this tank since I filled it up. Let's have a look. Well, I must have been driving it fast. I've only got 345 miles since I last reset it. Not very good, is it? It's certainly not got diesel legs, the tank on this car, but it's so much more fun. Okay, well, I've arrived now at the petrol station at the Costco and get the supplies, and in part two I'm going to talk a little bit more around the activities I want to put forward for the club, what things I'm certainly going to be in the itinerary, on the calendar of events, and also we'll get into the Submariner. We'll talk around that watch, which I really, really like, the Submariner. So yeah, stay tuned and speak to you again shortly. Anyway, yeah, so the Submariner for me, it's the watch which, if you can get one, it's the one to get. It's all round, it really does everything. 120 clicks from all the way around. You know, it doesn't do time travel as such, multiple time zones, but it's a diver's watch, so it's 1,000 meters, it's 330 meters, 1,000 feet. I love the big plots, the black, the black plots on this, and the black dial, very, very classic. Just I do everything watch really, and one that anyone who's got a collection of Rolexes should obviously give serious consideration to. The new one, it's got the slimmer lugs, it's got the wider bracelet, the newer movement. Okay, it's a watch I've got my eye on, it's a watch I'll get into eventually. And I do like the green and the black dial. I think it's getting a bit of a name, it's a Starbucks, but I think I prefer the black and black as a look overall. But because I've got the anniversary Submariner, I'd like to get the Starbucks with the ceramic green and the black. I've seen one up close, I have it on my wrist. Really, really nice. So there we are. So let's head home. Supplies there. Heavens above. It amazes me sometimes. I come and I think I don't need much, and then 190 to 200 quid later, you put a few bottles of wine in the trolley. Although some of those are gifts for some other people. Anyway, so also, yeah, I want to just talk a little bit about some of the activities that I've kind of got in my mind for what I want the club to be doing in the first little while. It's looking like back end of May, we're going to be able to do some driving in groups and this, that and the other. And then obviously things are going to open up more fully a little bit after that. So I think we're going to be selecting some decent roads to have some driving stuff on, just like drive days, and that will be part and parcel of just being a member really. But the real benefit you're going to get is you're going to get some great photography of your car. It's going to be on film a bit, covered on social media, and you'll be able to get all that and share it on your own social media. So that's good. And then I've got my mind on an overnight tour where we'll travel, have an overnight, then come back. That's going to take in northern counties, so Lancashire, we're going to go up into Yorkshire, then back over into Cumbria, then back over into northern Yorkshire, up. Then we're going to overnight somewhere in Northumberland, and then we're going to come back the next day. So that's going to be a trip which will cost X amount. And then I'm going to put a Highlands trip on later in the year. As I said before, we can do that. And then the real exciting one I'm really looking to get my teeth into is a trip I'd planned for 2020, which didn't come off, mainly because at the beginning of 2020, when I was kind of hoping a Spyder allocation would come, I got the option to buy the RS, so that popped up, and that kind of put the Spyder back because I couldn't afford to do both things at the same time. So now the Spyder has come good. I got the email today from Porsche saying thanks very much for the order. So yeah, it's gone in. So maybe talk a little bit about that. Yeah, so the order's in. It's all done and dusted. Because of the option that I've got with the factory, I had to have the spec ready to go. So they've given me this option. I guess I can't make any more secret of it. It is a colour to sample option that I've got. So my car, thankfully, is going to have, and I've wanted this for a few years, I'm going to have a colour to sample Spyder. I'm not going to give away the colour, but it will be colour to sample. So that's locked in, the spec's locked in. So yeah, it's got all the key ingredients: bucket seats, manual transmission. It's going to be a cracking car. I'm now in negotiations and discussions with the people who are going to do the exhaust system and fitting it on. So there we go. Hope you can see me. It's crazy light we've got at the moment. So yeah, so we digress slightly there. So yeah, so that's the Pyrenees trip, and that's the perfect car for it. I've got other friends who, I think that the Speedster may well come on that trip. I know that'll be an amazing car to have on the trip, and those kind of surroundings and temperatures and weather and this, that and the other. So Pyrenees, that's going to be probably sometime in September. In addition, I'm working on an Isle of Man adventure, because the Isle of Man's just so exciting. But of course, again, is the government going to open up the island to tourism? You know, we've had 2 TT cancellations. You know, you have to think that they're going to be extremely cautious about that. So we'll have to see. And just, we're going to be having meals out too. We're going to be that sort of thing. We're going to pick some great places, and just car meets too, coffee mornings, those sorts of things. So all the sort of things that people like to do. I'm also hopefully going to be able to do a bit of a barbecue around some special cars, which will be in the mix. So I'm talking about that, whether that'll come off or not. So it's down to the guy whether he wants to open up his home to that type of thing. But we'll see how we go. So there we are, a bit of a ramble. Almost it's actually 3 takes, but it'll be probably 2 takes in the video. But it had a lot to do with the fact that the memory was running out. I'm a bit of a novice really, understanding all this technology, I've got to be honest with you, but hopefully it's coming across all right for you guys. So we are, yeah. So the sun is coming back. If you got your eye on a car, I would give it serious consideration to getting it, because I do believe the market is firming up. So thanks very much for watching this video. If you haven't already done so, please think about subscribing, getting the bell on, and I'll see you next time.